Hi, welcome to Toys and Hood. Today I'm going to talk about Icewind Dale, Rime of the Frost Maiden, Beadle Grimms Silver Edition. Basically a super deluxe adventure. I used to play Dungeons and Dragons when I was younger, in my teens, in my early 20s, and then really I got more into miniature gaming for probably 15 years. And then over lockdown, I got back into roleplay again. It was brilliant. I was able to play on Roll20, I was able to play with all my friends online. It just worked really, really well. You know, miniature games you couldn't play, card games didn't work. Board games were okay with Board Games Arena, but you kind of wanted something you could play regularly. So yeah, roleplay was brilliant. And if you're going to roleplay, I think it's inevitable that you're going to end up playing Dungeons and Dragons. So for 2 years I ran a Odyssey of the Dragon Lords campaign and an Acquisitions Incorporated campaign. Acquisitions Incorporated is one of the official books for Dungeons and Dragons. I basically ended up buying all the adventures that they do. So most of the books, they look like this. You've got the kind of this standard red kind of red and black spine, the Dungeons and Dragons on the front, D&D on the front, glossy finishes. They're great and they do the job. What Wizards of the Coast also do a series of limited edition covers. These are really, really beautiful versions. I've got here the limited edition Icewind Dale. So a much nicer finish. You've kind of got a metallic finish. The contents of the book are still the same, but it's lovely, and it's exclusive to brick and mortar stores. So after playing over lockdown, when lockdown ceased, we could actually start playing face to face. I wanted to start playing Dungeons and Dragons. I wanted to do something epic. I wasn't really sure about what campaign I'd do. But then I saw Beadle Grimms Rime of the Frost Maiden Silver Edition. Basically it was on offer. You've got a free Yeti Tyke. I'll show you that in a bit. And I just thought, what a great way of making an awesome game to sort of celebrate being able to play face to face. So I splashed out, I think it's £150 for the box set. They're not cheap. It's amazing, and basically I'm going to talk through the contents of that now, and I'm also going to show you a few other bits and pieces that I got together to make my D&D game awesome. So Beadle Grimms Pandemonium Warehouse was set up by Matthew Lillard and some of his friends who have basically been gaming for years and years and years. Matthew Lillard's a famous actor from Scream, he was in Scooby-Doo, and more recently he was also in Bad Girls, a series on Netflix that was cancelled way before it should have been. Anyway, they got together and they basically decided to make really awesome boxes for games for Dungeons and Dragons. They presented their idea to Wizards of the Coast, who thought it was cool, and now they actually do a fair bit. Not only do they do stuff for Dungeons and Dragons, they also do bits for Magic the Gathering. They've done some other slight stuff, still Dungeons and Dragons, but like the Critical Role Taldore setting, campaign setting, you can get box sets for that. Some Pathfinder bits and pieces. They do a whole range. It's well worth taking a look at their website. They do super luxurious kind of $500 versions of these games. There's the Platinum Edition of Rime of the Frost Maiden. That's a bit more than I wanted to spend on a game, so we've got the silver one. And what I'll do now is I'll open it up and take you through it. But basically what it does is it takes the game and yeah, it pimps it. It makes it awesome. So first up, they've divided the main book into separate booklets, which is really, really handy, you know, as you're running through the game. Rime of the Frost Maiden, I'm going to try to do this like spoiler free as I can. Rime of the Frost Maiden is basically a giant sandbox, so you can pretty much go anywhere. So there can be an awful lot of flicking through the books. And these breaking it down to these smaller kind of booklets makes it a lot easier to run. Now, I haven't finished Icewind Dale. I'm on about chapter 5 at the moment, so some of these earlier parts, they have been played through quite a bit, and actually the use shows how useful they are, okay? So if you've got this from Beadle Grimms, which you won't do because it's sold out at the moment, I don't know if they're ever going to reprint it. I mean, it's a shame. It's a fantastic product. It would be cool if they did. So, these are quite battered, but here we go. So we've got the Icewind Dale booklet. You can see, you know, it's stapled together, whereas the full book obviously is kind of properly hardbound. Got a nice picture of a knucklehead trout, old Bitey there. And this is exactly what you would get in the book. Okay, so I'm not going to dwell on this too long, but it's fair to say it makes it a lot easier to go through. The adventure itself, I don't really want to spoil it. I'm not going to talk about the adventure, I'm going to talk about what you get in the box, okay? Welcome to the Far North, which is your introduction to Icewind Dale. Then your chapter 1, the 10 towns, Bremen to Caer Konig. These basically, at the beginning, okay, maybe I'm going to talk a little about the adventure. At the beginning, you basically go from these various towns, 10 towns. You can choose where you go. It gives you a plot hook that gets you travelling around, and it's a good way of just exploring the world. So, the first 2 books, chapter 1 there, Chapter 2 here. These are both just introducing the world to you and kind of helping you find your feet and generally establishing you as heroes before you move on to take on the kind of the main threats in Icewind Dale. Icewind Dale, this is when you branch out and go past the 10 towns. You then have 3 of the chapters together. 2 more chapters. Well, basically, that's the end of it. And then there's an appendix which has all of the special rules in. This is exactly the same layout as is in the book. Okay, so the one thing you're really gaining from the Silver Edition set is the fact that these are all separate, so you can read them. So that's all quite nice. It then comes with its own DM screen. So let's turn this over. I don't know if we'll get all of it in the picture. But you've got quite a nice piece of art there which sort of shows the northern lights that you kind of get over Icewind Dale. The whole thing about the Rime is Icewind Dale is it's basically plummeted into darkness. You know, it's almost a perpetual night, and constantly players are going to have to deal with this. And I think it's quite hard to kind of keep that mood. So something like this, a dark DM screen at the end of the you know, one end of the table, is a really good way of setting that mood. And of course, it is an Icewind Dale DM screen, so you've got a little map there that actually links to all of the chapters in the campaign. You've got overland travel. There's a lot of travelling and it's dangerous. You know, you're in the snow. This tells you the different routes from the key cities. Key towns. I mean, some of these only have 50 people living in them. You've then also got random encounters. There we go. There's a character guide with all the pronunciations. This is in the book. You know, none of this stuff isn't in the book. However, it's really, really nice to have a summary when you're playing this game, especially because a lot of Icewind Dale is dealing a lot of survival, dealing with a lot of, you know, well, ice and cold and dark, really. And so it's really nice to have all of these things to hand, because you need to keep that pressure on your players. They need to know that, well, they're in a bad way if they mess up. There is a fold-out map of Icewind Dale. It's too big to basically get on my table and under the camera. And it shows you Icewind Dale. We tend to play with that in the middle of the table. But then on the other side as well, here you have the 10 towns, the maps of the 10 towns as well for when you explore those. And as you go from town to town, they also give you better quality maps. So you've got your nice map there of Tourmaline, and then as you turn it over, you've got the coat of arms for the town, and you've basically got a space for notes. I have to say, I will not be letting my players put notes on this. I kind of intend, with the cost of something like this, to sell it as soon as we've played it. But this is a really nice way. Put these on the table and people can just see the maps, and it's a really nice aid to discussion. Yeah, especially Bryn Shander, one of the biggest towns there. And I mean, to be fair, you know, you can see this as a complete campaign setting as well. It's not just needed to run the campaign of Rime the Frost Maiden, which I think goes from something like level 1 to level 14. The Silver Edition does some really cool things with this. It basically provides you with props to help you remember which place you've been in. So here we've got the notice boards for each of the towns. Now, what you'll get is a few of these are crucial to the plot, and a few of these are just added flavour. But it's really nice to be able to give these out to the players so they can carry them around with them, and it should be a handy reminder that there are various bits of plot that they should be following up in each town. So, you know, here, to the thieves that stole the lantern from the Northern Light. Okay, and basically it's a handy reminder for people as they're going around Icewind Dale for what they've encountered. And this is just a really, really nice way of doing it. This stuff isn't in the books. You could always make something up yourself, and it does kind of make you wonder, well, how in Icewind Dale, you know, when some of these places have a population of 50 and are basically starving, how have they managed to actually print themselves a newsletter? But it's Dungeons and Dragons, they've probably magicked it up somehow. Various handouts for various parts of the game as well, to do with the adventures. There's a note for a mission. There's a help me sheet that somebody might find for whatever reason. There's the rather handy another map of Icewind Dale with all of the routes that you might take there, and then also the travelling time. In fact, sorry, that's actually to help you track one of the NPCs later on. So we won't talk about that too much. There's here, these are Goliaths playing a game of goat ball. So you've got a picture there, and on the back you actually have the very simple rules for you to follow. And here's another handout, which is the rhyme itself, the Rime of the Frost Maiden, the poem that sort of ties all of this together. There's encounter cards. So encounter cards are basically, they're the monster, and these are found in the appendix all throughout the adventure. So you've got an image of the monster, and these are designed so they flip out like that. You can hang them over your DM screen, so this part will face the player, and as a GM, you've got the rules on the back. It's a really, really handy way of looking at it. You can see you've got a Yeti Tyke there. Here's a polar owlbear, Goliath werebear. There's 60 odd of these tokens. Sorry, 40 of these encounter cards. You can see there's a nice big wodge there in the box. There's a very quick look for you. But yeah, these are all creatures in the standard book, but they're put together for you. Then there's some artwork that just covers certain encounters. Again, this is a similar thing for the creatures. You can just hook it over the GM screen, people see that artwork there, or you flip it over and you've got another piece. Most of it's art out of the book, but it's just a really nice way. This is one of the early encounters. You're meeting a goblin wagon, and it's pulled by polar bears. It's a really nice way of just showing what it looks like without having to explain it to your players. Not that there's anything wrong with that. Theatre of the mind's really important, but gosh, I just find it so much easier to have pictures like this to just help people through. Again, you can see I think we've got something like 20 of these, and they are double-sided. There's maps as well. This is the Grove. This folds out, and then on the other side, Irelath's Study. So a dark map there and a snowy cave map. There's then the Caves of Hunger, and there's another map on the other side of this as well. Let's see, you can't see that well, but gives you an idea at least. So that's two quite large maps, double-sided, so 4 maps in all. And then, unique to this, you've got some encounters that they provide you with. These are all, you've basically got art on the front, and then you've got the encounter described there. It tells you what level these should be at and where you can set them. They're just a way of bulking out the sets. And there's 1, 2, 3, 4 of these. Oh, no. Oh, yes. And then these are some NPCs that they've provided you with as well. So a drow rogue, a dwarf cleric, a half-elf druid, a Goliath barbarian, and a human sorcerer. These are just kind of extra bits that they've thrown into the adventure, but they're very handy, you know, if you need an NPC very, very quickly. One last thing that you get now, there are 2 props provided in this. One of them I have, well, lost, it appears, I've mislaid, which is a rather nice blue crystal piece of jewellery that works in the plot in the game. Now, hopefully I can find an image, and while I'm talking you'll see that, but if not, enjoy this view of my table. But then there is another piece as well, which is this dragon. Okay, let's see if I zoom in there. Oop, that's not zooming, that's zooming. So there you go, you've got this metal dragon here, and this is used at some point in the game. I won't give it away, but it's a really, really cool plot. You could put it in the middle of the table for people to see. So that's the contents of the Silver Edition box set. So I'm just going to talk about some other bits that I've bought as well to basically make the game more exciting for me. As I say, it was the first one that we were playing face to face. It was a really good opportunity to just get some cool stuff out. So as well as the Silver Edition box set, there's also some other bits and pieces. For ordering the Silver Edition box set, the special offer that really kind of persuaded me to do it was the fact that you got a little Yeti Tyke plush free with it. This guy is adorable, and he does actually feature in the game itself, in the adventure. So I also got a little polar owlbear. This is from Ultra Pro. It's actually a little dice bag. There's a little space in there to be able to put stuff in, and he's got a little carabiner, so you can hang him up. So yeah, super cute. Sadly, none of my adventurers have run into the owlbears yet, or the Yeti Tyke. This is the Icewind Dale Rime of the Frost Maiden Dice Miscellany pack. They've done a few of these. There's a Wild of the Witchlight one. There's a General Forgotten Realms pack as well. They're basically a set of dice, a nice little tray, and a few cards that just help flesh out the game. So it's a plastic case, which is just nice for keeping it in good condition, really. Bit of a faff to get it out, but that's fine. There you go. Lovely metallic finish, if you can see the light catching that there. if I open it up, so firstly, this is a kind of velvet lined dice tray. It comes with a little map of Icewind Dale. So if you've not got the Beadle Grimm one, this is ideal. Look at that, the hole fits in the cage, in the camera as well for bonus. And then you've just got little cards of certain things, so black ice berserkers, ice trolls, just a few things that you might encounter in Icewind Dale. Oh, there's Twingas. Twingas are fantastic. These are tiny little creatures, little fairy creatures that you can encounter. They're super cute, and they do appear in a few of the adventures. A D&D Beyond advert. Oh, sheep for just in there. And then you get dice. And then beneath this, I'll take these out to show you one. There we go. So this is your dice. It's a nice colour. It is a plastic moulded dice, a bit glittery. So the feel of them is just like any other dice. The colours are really lovely. Under there, it's also a black velvet dice tray. So this is really handy. You know, I'm running this with people who haven't played D&D a lot. So I know that they've got all the dice if I just pull out this pack and they can have that. Over lockdown, I also got myself a 3D printer, so I've been able to print off little bits to use in the game. So here is one of the buildings that can be used, just a super cute little hollow plastic building that I printed off and painted up. There's then, rather pleased with these, a series of axe beak models that I've painted up. So we play with these on the table. I have actually lately been able to set it up with a computer screen that you play on, which is really, really cool. And then, very pleased with this fellow. This is an ice giant. So he's very, very cool. Ice giant, frost giant skeleton, sorry, that's the one. Actually used clear resin to print him off. So I'm very, very pleased with that one. I've been Steve from Toys in the Hood. Thank you very much for watching. Plan to do lots of different games. I've been doing a lot of 40k recently, but obviously this is Dungeons and Dragons episode. There's loads more ideas. I've got Dungeons and Dragons, loads more ideas. I've got 40k, and loads more ideas for gaming in general. So please like, subscribe, tell your friends. See you soon. Cheers.